everyone. Hi, how are you doing after lunch? Okay, I know what's happening. Okay. All right, we'll keep this light. As I've been introduced, I do some stand-up comedy. So is it okay if I do this in a light-hearted manner? Yes, that doesn't sound like, yeah. All right. Okay, guys, my name is Dr. Jagdish Chaturvedi. I'm an ENT surgeon. I'm a sinus specialist. Those with allergy, give me an achhi. See, Bangalore, I never disappointed, with these. I got some patients right here. Thank God I'm not a gastroenterologist. That one takes some time to spread. Yeah, don't even think about gynecology right now. Yeah, but I'm here from Bangalore. I was born in Bangalore, raised in traffic. Yeah. So after a long time came outstation from Bangalore to Whitefield. Yeah, should have taken the overnight bus. Yeah, but stuff, guys. So you must be thinking, like, as a doctor, inventions and all of that. The thing started actually 15 years ago when I was, an MBBS student at Siddhartha Medical College, Tumkur. Anyone from Tumkur here? Give me a cheer. So, namaskara. Very good, very good. Nice to meet you. So, I was from Siddhartha. I was at the district hospital. Actually, I was a very good student, as a kid. I always wanted to do well, in my career and all of that. I was a very good student. A lot of you judge me, with the comedy and all of that. But I loved studying so much during my school days. Like some subjects, I loved studying so much that I studied them for many years. See, because of the love of the subject. You're judging me again there, right? See, if you like a movie, you watch it 5 times, right? Doesn't mean you don't understand the movie. Yeah, you want to re-experience it, right? So I loved physics for many years. Biochemistry for 3 years, But I always wanted to be a doctor because I was very bad at mathematics. But also because I wanted to, I was very insecure about my own health, my parents' health. I thought, I should have the control of treatment with me, right? So when I finished my MBBS, which is supposed to be 5.5 years, but I loved it so much, so I did it for many more years. And when I got through, and you have this internship, you know what internship is, right? So internship is a time when you see patients, for the first time. And I was so excited, like the first day of my internship, I was posted in medicine. And this is a district hospital. And I was so excited because I used to fantasize who my first patient is going to be, You always wonder who that first patient is going to be. Is it going to be a male or female, a child or an older person? And I was like, I'm going to use everything that I learned over the last 5 years, give the best kind of treatment, tender love and care, investigations, right? But when I came into the hospital, I was taken in through the back door by a very concerned-looking attender who was like, "Sir, utaita, sir, sir, are you okay? Are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm ready. I've been prepared for this for the last 5 years." She takes me from the back door into the OPD chamber. I'm sitting inside the OPD chamber, right? There are 2 doors that are holding something really heavy behind. I don't know what it is. And this attender is like, "Sir, are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah." And the moment he unleashed the door, hundreds of people came inside at the same time. "Sir, BP sir, sugar sir, BP sir, jwara sir." I'm like, who came in first? Who should I fantasize, What shall I tell my kids? This is my first patient, I just went into defense mode. If I saw fever, I said paracetamol. If I say pain, I give a painkiller. If I don't know what to do, I send them for investigation, like baad mein figure out kar lenge. Because that is what happens when you're in a district hospital. Because you have one doctor for 1,700 patients. Generally, okay, that's in India. It's not such a bad statistics, but when you go to rural and more peripheral, this ratio becomes 1 into 10,000, 1 to 20,000. Really, really difficult. The amount of time I would spend with the patient is not more than 10, 15 seconds or 30 seconds, right? And that much time also we manage to get beaten up. So, because, yeah, that's what happens. And even when I go to my post-graduation, I did my post-graduation from St. John's Medical College here in Bangalore. And we used to go to these rural postings. Like, Muglur is a place where we used to go around Anekal. And, I used to go with a senior doctor. And, seniors like to rag their juniors once in a while, right? And we are supposed to examine patients' throats. And, even today, how we examine someone's throat, do you have any idea? We actually take like a little bit of a spoon. It's a spoon-like thing with a mirror on the other end. You must have seen like those dental mirrors, right? A little more bigger laryngeal mirror. Okay, you have to hold the tongue with your bare hand. Like the moment the patient comes and we ask them to open their mouth, we say, "Zuba kesari. Dane dane mein hai kesar ka dam." You hold that wriggly tongue. You pass this mirror all the way till the back where it's fogging like that Titanic scene you're thinking about, right? And then if that's not enough, you have a headlight or a bullseye lamp, and the light from the back of your shoulder has to reflect at the right angle on that fogging mirror with that breathing patient to see the reflection of the vocal cord in a second. Like, it's easy to see the moon in Karwa Chauth than to see that vocal cord. Like, for a second also you see like, "Ha, dig gaya," right? And it's so hard to make. You have to make a diagnosis of early cancer with that reflection of that tiny mirror. Like, I could never understand how to use that mirror, right? But we can't show that to the patient. So I'm making sounds like, yeah, sounds of reassurance, right? And then my senior wants to, he wants to show that, he's important. So he calls me to his patient and he says, Jagdish, come here, you show me your findings in this patient. And I look into his throat, I don't understand anything. But my colleagues had taught me that if your senior asks any question, give the safest answer. So I said, sir, this patient is normal. Because upar wala na balance rakhta hai. The senior is like, Jagdish, thank God you could make out something. I could not make out anything myself. And that's when fear struck me. Both of us get dressed in the morning, travel 25, 30 kilometers. We come. These are daily wages. There are farmers. They leave their daily work. They sit in front of us. And half the time, we don't know what we're doing. Right? And that time, the movie Swades had released. I don't know if you read Swades, right? It put a lot of impact on youngsters like us, like, hum kuch karenge desh ke liye, kuch karenge desh ke liye, And, all that manikcha and then all of that, right? So I did the unthinkable that time. I was like, no, this is not fine. Because see, it goes on to your conscience. These are people, we may be saying out their cancers, right? This is going to affect their life. This is not right. And we don't understand the mirror, so what's the option? So I go back to my boss, okay? I have a very angry boss, like everybody's boss, is Dr. Ravi Nair. I have his permission to say this. And he was sitting in his OPD, right, at the end of the day. And I come back after this, Swades effect and whatever I had smelled, Manik Chandra. Like, I come inside the OPD chamber and say, sir, we go to these rural areas, we're using these old age mirrors, we can't make out anything in the throat. Here we have a 3-chip camera, flat screen TV, halogen light with a laryngoscope. By the time the patient comes here, you can see the cancer from outside. We need something of high magnification like this in the rural area. That is what we need. And he's at the end of the OPD, right? So he's just looking down like this and he breathes. And he looks at me. And this is exactly what he asked me at that time, verbatim. He says, Jagdish, tu bhokne wala kutta hai ki kaatne wala kutta hai? Are you a barking dog or biting dog? And I was like, oh, out of syllabus question. I said, the barking is not good. So I said, sir, I'm a kaatne wala kutta. So he's like, tu bhonk kyun raha hai? Why are you barking? Right? Yeah, you can clap for that. It's like, well, this is not that, that is not that. This is barking. You want to do something about it, you go do something about it. I'm like, what shall I do? I'm a PG student. So if you think that you can solve it, you solve it. You can't take this thing over there. There's no power, no electricity. Don't come and bark to me at the end of the OPD. So I had an idea, and generally, we as Indians, the way we innovate is like falling in love, right? You see a problem and idea, ho gaya. Yahi hai solution, After that, anybody says, I have seen that idea somewhere else, they are villains. Nahin. I have to prove them wrong, right? So I had an idea, simple idea. I thought, we had digital cameras at that point of time. I thought, why don't take a digital camera? I have an endoscope. Let me marry it with a physical, kind of a mechanical coupler so that, we can see the image from the endoscope into the camera, digital camera. And we figured out a way to pull out a light source from there. And I didn't know how to make it, right? So we as Indians, we are blessed with Indian parents. And whenever you need any money, parents will give you money if you know how to wiggle your lower chin at the frequency that wiggles with their heart. My father's like, beta, kya ho gaya? What do you want? Paise chahiye, papa. Why? Like, so project, I have to make something. Okay, how much you want? I'm like, 1 lakh. Abhi 1 lakh chahiye, 1 lakh chahiye, Give 50,000 rupees I got from my parents. And I bought a camera, had the endoscope. I got a mechanical engineer who made that coupler. I pulled out the light source, and amazing. I could actually see, when I next time went and took this device to Muglur in the rural areas, I could actually see what the vocal cord looks like. And not only that, I could record it and show to the patient. And patient's reaction was amazing. He's like, sir, what is that white over there? Precancerous lesion. Precancer. For the next 1 month, they would come every week, say, just put this, show me in the video, show me whether that lesion is gone or not. The compliance improved, treatment improved, right? We were able to do better screening. And then I went back very proudly to my boss and said, sir, kaanta laga. I have made something, right? And he looked at it. He was also amazed. He's like, oh, wow, Jagdish, you took that seriously. Okay. It's like, see, generally, I would forgive you if you wouldn't do anything because most of my students don't listen to me. But now I won't forgive you. I'm like, what do you mean by that? It's like, now I want you to take this all the way to the market. I want you to get this as a product that will reach and benefit a lot of patients. I'm like, sir, I came to do my post-graduation. I'll make one for you, one for me. We'll live happily ever after. No, no, no. Form a company. Find a co-founder. Co-founder. Another human being. So like, where do I find a co-founder? I went home. I was married. So I asked my wife, you want to form a company with me? She said, no. So I went to the next best option, her sister. She agreed. Yeah. You know. She was doing aeronautical engineering from IIT Madras, not getting a job anywhere. She's like, I understand mechanics. We'll form a company. Her husband was an IIM Cal graduate. We formed a company called HiiiH Medical Innovations, the worst mistake of our life. See? Every time I say that, one startup breaks. You know, in Bangalore, it happens all the time, right? So it's okay. There is hope. So, you know, so... and you know, no funding, nobody invests in somebody working as a doctor and part-time and all that. And we tried really hard, and I went to Dr. Ravinar. I'm like, sir, sorry, sir, we really tried. We tried to make this. We got it to some level of human factors, prototype, and all of that. And I said, sir, please, this is how much I can do, and I need to focus on my studies. And while I was leaving the room, he stopped me. He says, Jagdish, if you and I don't know how to invent, somebody must be knowing how to invent. I'm like, yes, sir, somebody must be knowing. Why don't you learn how to invent from them? I'm like, sir, now what is this PG? He's my thesis guide, so I can't really mess with him. And he found out there was a fellowship program run by the government of India called Stanford India Biodesign. I don't know if you've heard of that program. It's an amazing flagship program funded by the DBT, which would send a doctor, an engineer, a scientist, and a design graduate all the way to Stanford University, learn how to invent from the Bay Area, come back to India in AIMS and IIT Delhi, implement it, right? And somehow I told sir that, yes, I'll do this at the end of my graduation. In 2012, when I got selected for this prestigious program, I was the only doctor in the entire country who applied for that program. Nobody knew about that program. It wasn't marketed very well. I was waitlisted in hope of better candidate. For 6 months, I didn't find anyone. They're like, let's take him only. My email address was hemoglobin 84. That was my interview question. What's hemoglobin 84? I'm like, it's he is man, globin is strong. Let's take this guy. You know. And then, in 2012, we went to learn this biodesign process, right? So, the four of us, when like Lord of the Rings, we went to Stanford, 7 oceans all the way there on government money. And then when I went there, I had 2 big realizations about innovations over there. One is that when we went all the way there, we realized the people who were teaching us how to invent were doctors from Indian origin with American accents. Raj Doshi, Uday Kumar, Anurag Mairal. I'm like, हम लोग 7 समुंदर पार करके आए. कोई जॉर्ज एंड्रू जेसिका कुछ तो दो यार. Like, what am I going to tell my parents? Raj Doshi. Like, oh, Doshi uncle. I'm like, no. I asked Dr. Raj, like, how is this happening? You're a doctor from, you're an Indian origin. Like, where did you do your MBBS from? Navi, Mumbai. I'm like, yeah. Like, you studied in India. You're coming here and you're teaching us how to invent. Like, I couldn't understand that, right? And then I asked him, why is this happening over here? Like, what is it that you're doing different? And then he said, Jagdish, when you're in a university like Stanford and you've got an idea and you want to do something about it, then you can go talk to an engineer, you can talk to a designer, you can talk to a lawyer, you can talk to a model, everything's here, right? You can do whatever you like. You can form a startup company, and when you form a startup company, Stanford University will give you a sabbatical. They'll allow you to form that company so that you can go to the Bay Area where they're the venture capitalists who will invest in your company, and then we take a small share, we sell it back to you. You know the Google story, right? I was like, oh, cross-disciplinary. The only time I see another person who's not a doctor in my life is when, if I see an engineer, he's mostly lying down on the operation table. I was like, you'll form a company with me, tere ko bachata hu. Sister, scalpel. That's the only time we network with someone non-medical, right? Universities are very this thing. And the second thing what they do is, they believe in a process of observation and understanding the problem. Understand the problem, and the idea becomes obvious. Understand it so much by observing. So basically, the four of us were observing. For 6 months, we're just standing in the hospital looking at things going wrong, noting why they're going wrong, what else could have been done, understanding 500, 600 problems, filtering them using some filtering parameters, coming to the top one. Like when we came back to India, we were so used to observations that everywhere we would just be staring and observing. Imagine in Delhi and Connaught Place, we're observing. Women are asking, what are you looking at? I'm like, do you have any unmet needs? We are here to solve them. And then we became observations ourselves when we were wheeled into the emergency. You know, because that's what happens with these observers. But they observe and find. And when we came back, I realized I was doing something fundamentally wrong with my first invention. That's why it never took off. The fundamentally wrong thing that I was doing is I only thought from my idea perspective. I never looked at the market, the situation, the resources, the skill requirement. And what I was not understanding is I made an endoscope-based camera device for rural problems. Now, an endoscope is used by an ENT surgeon. Rural areas don't have an ENT surgeon. They have somebody who's like an MBBS doctor or health workers who are 6 standard pass, 7 standard pass. There was a huge skill mismatch. There was a huge resource mismatch, maintenance mismatch. And I was like, that became obvious to me because when we spent time and understood why this project failed, we just redesigned the entire device to make it so simple that a 3rd standard pass health worker could use it. It immediately got licensed out to Medtronic. And Medtronic bought that product, and today it's called HiiiH. And the HiiiH interview project has screened, I think, over 10 lakh people, giving jobs to thousands of healthcare workers. Yeah, you can clap here, no joke after this, yeah. You know, and that became a successful project, right? And after that, we learned the idea of invention, you know, basically take a team of cross-disciplinary people, observe, and we invented a lot of devices. I hear 18 devices were mentioned, but actually I have only 9 commercial devices. The reason why I put 18 there is because when Dr. Ravi Nair says that if you just say I worked on 9 devices, all 9 are commercial, you're basically giving a wrong message. You should tell how many you were involved with and how many moved so that you can give a realistic picture of how it's your failure rate, right? Right now I'm doing a 50% failure rate, which is just like my school mark, so I'm very consistent since childhood, right? But you know, then developed a lot of ENT devices and all of that. And then one day I went to Dr. Ravi Nair. I was very happy. You know, he called me to give a talk for doctors, and I talked about innovations. I got a nice applause at the end. And I thought, okay, he'll pat me at the back. I'm like moonwalking for it, right? And he looks at me and says, Jagdish, you're still barking. I'm like, sir, what are you talking about? I'm talking about innovations. I'm talking about all of this. I'm doing that while I'm doing practice. But he's like, yeah, you're barking about it. I'm like, what do you want me to do? He's like, no, put it in some way that people can, you know, read. How many places will you go give a talk? I'm still giving it, but, you know, how many places would you go talk about it? You know, put it down in a book or something like that, right? And I was like, sir, I don't have any successes to write in a book. I've just attempted multiple devices, but a lot of failures. So he's like, don't wait for success to happen before you write a book, because success can come so late that by the time you write about it, it becomes irrelevant. You know, it'll only inspire people, but nobody can use an action item with it. So you write about your failure, somebody might make a course correction. So I was like, okay, man, I'll just write a book and make him happy, right? I wrote a book called, Inventing Medical Devices Perspective from India. I just self-published it on Amazon, gave him a copy. He said, now you are a biting dog. And I didn't realize that, you know, within the next 1 month, that became the best seller in medical technologies on Amazon. Yeah. People are calling me and saying, so many spelling mistakes in this. No formatting. I'm like, I didn't know somebody would read it. We recalled all of that, put it through an actual publisher and took it out and realized that there's actually no resources at that point of time on Indian medical devices. Now there are 4 other books, and we've also created a web series called Starting Troubles because the young students don't read books anymore, so we made a web series with some Bollywood actors and myself to do it. But I want to end with the point saying that, you know, innovations never stops. And one of the problems that we saw post-pandemic with the same issue is that we are seeing patients remotely. And the moment pandemic happened, our ENT surgeons, you know, we were not able to examine patients' ear, nose, and throat, right? So we are basically coming on virtual consultations, and patients are saying, my ear is blocked, and I'm like, I can't make out anything. So we took that invention further, and we basically then try to create something where we can see patients' ears, you know, remotely. Let me just do this first. Something where you can remotely see somebody's ears. So that's my eardrum, which all of you can see now. And now we have this device floating around with hundreds of MBBS doctors. So when there's a patient from Bihar or Kolkata and they say our ear is blocked, nose is blocked, and I can't see inside them, just like your Swiggy and Zomato deliver your food or your lab techs, we send this unit to them. They take the image, we see it, we can give the accurate consultation, work them up for surgeries, and also provide them the definitive treatment. There's nothing innovative about this device. The 3-chip camera wireless technologies are available. A lot of Chinese makers are there that sell it for a few thousand rupees for automobiles and all of that. But when you make it a medical device to make it regulatory compliant, to bring the durability and the safety and run it through sort of a business model like this, that's what we're trying to do now. But with that, guys, thank you very much. And you've been a wonderful audience. And I didn't expect an applause, guys, so I'd like to do this again just to kind of record this, make my friends jealous. Let's do this again. Thank you very much, guys. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. You know, this is why I love, talking to Indian audiences, because whatever you want, you can just ask it, they'll give it to you. Yeah, if you try to extract it, they won't. But with that, I leave you for the rest of the day. Back to your host. Thank you very much.